This is Talking My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, just another voice in the wilderness. Um, I want to talk about the difference between um, intellectual understanding of anything and the transformation and the real transformation in terms of behavior, of consciousness, um, that which is two different things, two different realities. we are we most of us. I mean, it doesn't matter how. I mean, it matters if we are smart or whatever. It doesn't. I mean, it for many of us it's easier. For some people, some people it's easier to understand um, some ideas and to 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 understand the narratives, to understand the and for others is more difficult. That's that's what it is. Um, but we can technically uh, we can understand with more or less effort. We might not be able to understand physics or mathematics or some specific language systems and knowledge systems that require particular that require extensive that requires some that what many people don't have in intellectual terms. But to understand narratives, to understand uh, to understand ideas, uh, to understand ideas about society, about human beings, about behavior, about morals, values, principles, and I mean, we can really, all of us can do it, and we do have ideas. We have perspectives. We have convictions and beliefs about and opinions about this and that and so on and so forth. Um, and we, but those convictions and beliefs we have, many times they are not fact based. They are not, since we are since of, because of our socio-cultural condition, which is something that we need to understand in depth, because it really helps us to be aware, to be conscious of how our nature, our socio-cultural nature shapes who we are, how easy we are influenced, manipulated, deceived. Not because we are stupid, but because it's part of our nature. It is not a flaw. It is not is a weakness. We can consider it a weakness, a fragility, but it's not a flaw, because we, our species, has how we have evolved as a species, as a socio-cultural species. This culture thing is very important to understand, because it's that we, besides being a social species with what it implies, we are also a species that only understands reality and build our relations and organize our societies and economies and ideological systems through narratives that are built with concepts and ideas that are symbolic, that represent reality. They are not the reality, they represent the reality. So um, that's why we come up with ideas um, about the human body, about the human conscience, about the earth as being the center of the universe, and many other things that actually are not correct. But that is not because we are liars or we are flawed. It's because that's how what our species, the features of our species makes us. So this is how we evolved, and um, we should not consider it a flaw, or we should not consider it underdevelopment, that we are not developed enough, because whatever we built, complex societies, science, technology, uh, arts, architecture, I mean, all the things that we have created and built are built with our features, which means that when we say that we are not developed enough to cope with what we have built, it is true to a certain extent that we built complex societies that are kind of overwhelming, um, and it's and and it's really kind of difficult to under it is difficult for individuals and even as groups to have a comprehensive of holistic understanding of the very reality where we have to survive. But it's not impossible, and we can, and it's against our interests as human beings able to fix and to change, because change happens. It doesn't. It's just a question of who is in control. Because in the end, our systems, our artificial manufactured systems, societal systems, economic, political, the institutions are human creations. And the point is, it matters a lot who controls it, what kind of values, systems, and principles are the basis of that are the basis for legislate. Why do we have these law systems? Why did we bought into the ideology, John Locke ideology, to that property is a kind of a divine right, and we, we, the many, the people, the workers, the working class, are supposed we are supposed to frame, to have our perception of reality as if we are in the same level as the people that really own stuff, land, assets, real estate, property, financial assets, proprietary rights over this and over that. I mean, this is perception manipulation. When we are, and again, I'm going to go there. When we are, as regular people, most of us dependent on a salary, or if you are self-employed, you have to work hard to, because it is the name of the game. It is how the rules are written, but by whom? Who are the ones that write the rules and the laws that govern ourselves, but also govern how we perceive ourselves and the reality, which is through narratives and ideas and concepts and values, which are the narratives, are composed of all of these. And never forget that morals is, it's always the weaponization of ideas, for the good or for the bad, for good reasons or bad reasons. If we learn to despise homosexuals, or if we learn to despise, or if we learn that a lady that cheats is her husband should be stoned to death, this is not a law written by any god. It is a cultural invention, and somebody came up with this idea, or a group, or an organized group. We need to understand this, that we are instrumentalized by ideas, by narratives, through language framing and rhetorical tricks and demagoguery. And this is, we can say that, oh, this is a flaw and we are under the devil. No, we just need to understand these features of our human condition in order to understand that intellectual understanding is not enough to change the dominant narratives that still control our identity, that still organize, not control, but organize our identity at the subconscious level. And so that's why we need to go through a process of conscious transformative process, by which we consciously train ourselves in order to become one, aligned with the values. If our values, if the core values, if we care about justice, and you see justice, truth, and trust, for example, as fundamental values for a social species that has evolved basis it evolved as social, as dependent on social relations, on close social relations, reciprocity. cooperation. And if we understand that part of this, that empathy and compassion are not optional, this is not things that we can, some of us, no, this is features that can be buried, that can be, that can be made almost irrelevant if you are indoctrinated, if we are indoctrinated in a society where what is more important as it's our individuality is that we are supposed to pursue self-interest and the primacy of self-interest, the primacy of private property, the primacy of profit maximization. If we learn this as we are growing, if those values are in the water for the fish, I mean in the environment, in the socio-cultural environment, as the formative values, as the foundational values that will shape, that will shape our identity, our socio-cultural identity, we surely will become, we will be transformed into that. Because we are, I would like people to understand that we are. I don't care what science says, because science is flawed, and there's so much thing that we are supposed to take as science, and that it is pseudoscience, to say the least, in many cases, especially in evolutionary biology and in evolutionary psychology and many other fields, okay? Because this is not, it's always about narratives anyways. It's always about how language framing, this is so crucial. And again, I know it's very easy to understand language framing, yes, we frame, no, but this is how it works, what we need to understand and be aware, and be this process of training our consciousness that we are aware. We are conscious. We train ourselves to be conscious that these tricks are used in continuum. They are part of the very system that wants to control us. And wants to control us because of power, of money, of wealth accumulation, of private property rights. That's what is at stake. If we wanted to have a more equal society, we didn't want to manipulate. Why should we want to manipulate others if we don't want to have power over them? You tell me. You tell me, why should we want to manipulate others, to lie, to deceive? Okay? If we don't want to have power over them, to have some sort of control over them. And why is that? Is it innate? Is it part of human nature, or is it a sociocultural construct? Then that we then become victims of it. And who were those? And who were those that built this sociocultural reality? Exactly, that's the point. Those are the ones that lack the features, that lack, they have sociopathic traits or psychopathic traits, narcissistic, opportunistic, megalomaniacal, And these people have these are true. This is true. These people have an advantage. They have an edge, a social and also cultural and ideological and political edge against the many. And that's why they can, because they don't, since they don't care about the others, what others feel. If they feel pain, they can inflict suffering, they can exploit, they can destroy. So they can commit ecocide, genocide, whatever it is. And for them, it's only the bottom line. It's their goals and objectives and agendas that matter. So therefore, they are willing to do whatever it takes in order to achieve their objectives. And then the entire society, the entire culture becomes their playing field. Because then when we have the institutions, when we have education, law, when we have the legislative power, the executive power, the judicial power, academia, and the all institutions that are and the ones that are created on purpose to control society, to control people. They are all controlled, designed, and upgraded by the people that for the reasons of careers, for the reasons of climbing the social ladder, the socioeconomical ladder, they will serve power. And then there is this asymmetry, this power symmetry between the few and the many, because it is institutionalized. But it's also part of the narratives that are crafted to convince us that it is part of human nature. So there is nothing we can do. This is who we are. And we, instead of trying to understand that maybe this is a lie, this is part of the manipulation, because we do live in a web of deceit, we have to survive. While we live, our existence, our existential, is to be in this web of deceit. That's why we have to navigate, and we have to learn to understand the web of deceit while we have to survive within its boundaries. That's why it's very difficult. But that's nothing to do. I mean, of course, it is. I mean, it is the human nature that allows this to be reality. Okay, but that's because culture, these very features, socio-cultural features, as intelligent beings, as beings that are able to conceptualize the world, as beings that are able to effabulate, to create fiction, to explain reality, we become victims of it. But when I say we, I want people to understand that most of us are born, all of us, of course, but we are born in a society, in a system, or a system of systems that is always crafted, designed, shaped, organized, structured by the very few and they do it in order to keep us, to instrumentalize us in ways that we don't really understand. Most of us do not, will never. Those of us will play the game, which means we will be fed with stories and narratives. We will be entertained and deceived and transformed into a consumer, and we will be fed with fears, okay, and delusions, and we will our frustrations we will be played, our limits, our human limits will be played, all in order to keep us divided, entertained, distracted, deceived, you know, in order to control us. This is in the environment. This is part of the, this is what our senses capture without any uh, we don't need to have any conscious effort. We don't need to pay attention. This is what comes through our eyes and ears, especially through our eyes and ears, to our brains, and this assimilated is then we have these patterns, these long-term memories, these implicit memories, these maps, these images that become, that are the building blocks of our psychosociocultural identity. Of course, each one, we are different because we have different personalities and different temperaments, and different it's also biological heritage, and also we have different life experiences, so we are different from each other. There always will be differences, but in the end that's not what matters. What matters is to have most people in that lives in this, that doesn't, never goes, never really challenges, never, that this is a very important point, that people never really challenges the uh, uh, the paradigm, never thinks really outside the box, never puts things in perspective. I mean the roots, the foundations of capitalism, the foundations of imperialism, the foundation of this civilizational paradigm that we think it's kind of the essence of humanity, because we confuse civilization and manners and arts and technofixism and scientism and all this body of knowledges and these institutions as the pinnacle of humanity. No, the pinnacle of humanity is a deep respect for life, is humility, is intellectual humility. It's to build a civilization, a society, and an economy that enhances empathy and compassion, cooperation and reciprocity. That also, that truth, justice, and trust, as important for, as not only values, as features of human nature, are in the center. And all those creations need to be subjected to these values, not in abstract terms, but in relational terms. Okay? Not in abstract or absolute terms, but in relational terms. And this again is not only that we can do, most people can understand what I'm saying intellectually, but that alone doesn't change reality, doesn't change who we are, doesn't change our behavior. As everybody knows, just all of us have addictions, okay? Caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, whatever, and other types of addictions and bad habits. And we know sugar or whatever it is, doesn't matter. We know that those things are bad. We know that we should change because we understand it intellectually. We have the knowledge. But we don't change our behavior or our habits unless we go through a conscious transformative process. Unless we transform ourselves. Unless we change ourselves. And that's we are always being changed and manipulated and deceived by others. Okay, by the institutions. I'm not talking about the influence that we exert in each other. Okay, that is common, that we all exert this influence in each other, because as I used to say, we all are bits and pieces of other people's knowledge and experience, and I mean that. What the point is, that we are always being shaped by ideas, by many things, and we do not really, and we think we are not. That's the point. That's exactly one of the most successes of cultural imperialism and cultural manipulation, which propaganda, weapons of mass deception, PR machinery, all these things, is because we still have the idea, just because we have the ability to reflect, we have the ability to all these characteristics that we have individual as conscious individuals, that it seems that we are not manipulated, because we look around us and we know that we criticize this, we criticize that, we know this, we know that, we have our opinions, we have this, we have that, and it apparently as if we somehow are not manipulated. So who are those that are manipulated? It's others? No, it's us. And if we need to start by understanding the problems, the language framing, the ideological framing, and the cultural manipulation as an intellectual process of liberation, that intellectual liberative process only becomes real when it is transformed or into a conscious transformative process. When it becomes a conscious transformative process, which we have the main frame values that we as human beings, as a species, as humanity, that can be conscious of what kind of society, what kind of economy, what kind of civilization we can have, while we, I mean that we as a species must see ourselves as part of the web of life. And as a culture, human culture needs to be, it's not culture versus nature, it has to be culture in the web of nature. And we can, this is not for luminaries or people that are above. I know that this only genius can think about this. Everybody can think about this, but we cannot think about everything at the same time. We are absorbed by so much. It's so shallow, it's so fragmented, it's so delusional that it doesn't matter how much, even you can be sophisticated, you can know a lot about culture and arts, you can read a lot of books, it doesn't matter. You're still shallow, you're still fragmented, you're still delusional. Because it is part of the process that where we live, the kind of environment, socio-cultural environment, also economic and political, because this is all, we need always to put this together. We need to understand it individually, but we need to understand how it works together, because that's this kind of manipulation where that you can see elements from political, economic, cultural, social, that it works together to shape who we are, to shape our perception of ourselves, our identity. That's because we are this species, this cultural species that has these perceptions which can be close to the truth of who we really are, or can just take apart and just transform us into cultivated beasts. And cultivated monsters. That's what I should say. And that's what we become. We are cultivated, sophisticated, but we are humanized. And we can become demons, because we can become the instruments of other people's interests, not even our own interest. So we are instrumentalized to serve the interests of a class that doesn't care, that doesn't give a shit about us. But wants us to believe that we can be like them if we work hard or if we serve them. Yeah. So in this we need to understand all of this and put it together in an holistic way. It might not be easy, but if we think about it, if we think, okay, I don't want to be distracted. I mean, why should I pay attention to wrestling, political wrestling, fake, all kind of fakeries that is just used to entertain you, to make us not make the best use of our lives, to waste our time. And time is life. Don't think about time as money. Think about time as your life. Our life is measured, if it could be measured in units of time. The way we use them is very important that we really do use our lives the way we think it's best. But we should not confuse best with serving interests just to make us a little richer or a little better, but to serve bigger interests. You know, when a poor guy in a rich country uh, enlists in the military because he doesn't have a job, or he doesn't have any perspective of future where he lives in his town or whatever, and okay, he sees the opportunity to serve his country in the military, to invade foreign lands, countries, and he might be even proud of his, But the thing is, he, he is pursuing his self-interest, but he's going to risk be killed, not for his self-interest, to defend the Pluto oligarchy of his country, the imperialist Pluto oligarchy. But it might not understand. He might not understand it because he is pursuing his self-interest. But within an environment, this pursuit of self-interest happens in an environment that was not created by him. The socio-economic and cultural conditions and political conditions were created by others, by those that don't care at all about the outcomes to his life. If he's killed or not, they do not care at all. They might pretend, but they don't care at all. And we need to understand. And this, again, we need to use our time, not waste our time. It needs to be a conscious transformative process again, because it is not just it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen that you are used to watch soap operas or to it doesn't matter. You are, or to watch football, and to have this tribalization around these things. You have, this is your tribe, this is my tribe, and all this. You have your heroes, and you just these celebrities, and all these things about movies and about celebrities and about pop artists and about football and about this and about that, and you just waste your time not understanding the very system that exploits you, that humanizes you, us. When I mean you, I mean us, and put us against each other through fake tribalizations, manufactured tribalization and fanatization. And that doesn't matter how many books you read. Honestly, it doesn't. It matters if you find the right books that make you think. If you find the right books that wakes you up for the reality, yes, it matters. But are those the most books? I would say no. So probably you are going to read novels, and you read, that's not because there are good novels, of course they exist, but you are to read many books that keeps you entertained. And there's nothing wrong to be entertained. There's nothing wrong to diversion. But when it's used as a weapon to instrumentalize us against us, then it really matters. And we need to be aware. This is the reality. And that reality, even that's the point of what I'm trying to say, is never enough to understand it intellectually. Because, in academia, is, I mean, it's so much intellectual. I mean, it these people. I mean, they people that have a living writing stuff and inventing stuff and and having arguments and building theories and I mean, is it useful? I mean, in part is. Intellectual discussion and debate and plurality and this and that is important, but to a point, you know, it just becomes part of the entertainment, part of the fakery. And by we, I mean those that are really exploited, and we don't have, are not allowed to have full lives with meaning and purpose and understanding what a human being really is and live. I mean, it becomes useless. It becomes part of the game, and this is just a game, but a rigged game. That's the point. It's not a level playing field. It's a rigged game, and we are the losers. Yes, you can call yourself a loser because you are the loser, but you are not a loser. That's the point that you have to understand. Never perceive yourself as a loser. They want you to perceive yourself as a loser. You are on the losing side intentionally. So, there are many things to say, but for today, I'm going to end it here. I mean, nobody listens to me, but okay, maybe there will be some people that will understand where I'm trying to get with these monologues. In the end, I'm trying to be a human being. I'm trying to see that my life has purpose, at least in this little frame. Because I don't like to write. I mean, I thought I wanted to write when I was younger. I wrote a lot by hand, and then I quit it written by hand, and now I don't even like to write unless short texts. I don't even like to write. I really like. I like to listen, and I don't like to read. I like to listen, and I like to speak, because I think this is really our features. Really, written language is already something forced. It's not nothing against writing, okay, but it's natural for us as human beings is listening and speaking, talking, because it's natural. Is it is spontaneous. It can be spontaneous. It can also be we can also have demagoguery and all of that. I don't know it, but I think you know my point. It is a flow, and I love it like that. I truly love it. And when I'm writing, it's painful because I'm never happy with what I'm writing, and then I have to go back and forth, and then it's okay. So I decided that this is the way I want to share my thoughts, to share my reflections, to share my insights. It's unfortunately is not a conversation I would like to have, but I don't have. I do not have people with whom I can really have a nice conversation. Unfortunately, it's not. If you think I'm thinking I'm putting myself, no. This is just painful for me, But That's what it is. Maybe that's the reality. That's part of the game again. Okay, thank you for listening. I will be back soon.